Welcome to the men's room. Today, I am super excited to have Konrad joining us because we're going to be talking about solitude versus loneliness. And the reason why that is so relevant right now is because we are, in many cases, transitioning. We are still transitioning from COVID. We're still transitioning from the beginning of a new year. In some cases, there might be newly elected officials to run the different governments of all the different countries around the world. People could be entering a space of new jobs, new relationships, loss of loved ones, all of these different things that we might be experiencing. And so, really, for our listeners today, we'd like you to know two things. One, no matter what you're going through, you're not alone. And then the second thing is, if we can make a case for stepping into and embracing a place of solitude and really going into your heart space and really doing a lot less thinking, then a lot of these things that we're transitioning through, we're making space for things to come in. We are reducing the burdens that we carry and letting things flow away. And so really, it's about the ebbs and flows of life. And instead of running away from them or being afraid of them, realizing and acknowledging that they're there. And so with that, I want to start with Konrad, going into, I guess, a little bit about the topic and how he personally has been embracing solitude, knowing that sometimes he can be in a place of loneliness. And he's going to talk about his geographic location as a starting place, because I think that as listeners, we all can relate when we're in a place or a space.
Thank you so much, Linda, and welcome, friends. Um, it's just as a backdrop to the whole conversation today. I spent a lot of time living in cities, especially city centers, for years. I was that person, that city dweller, that was literally living on main streets of various European cities. And yet, these days, I find myself living in what I call a middle of nowhere. I actually happen to live in one of the Scotland's national parks. And here, well, the pace of life is very, very different. Here, life is different. Um, and it has its perks and it has its drawbacks for sure. However, one of the things that I have realized very early on this journey, living so remotely, is that when we are far away from a major city, for example, this is where it truly boils down to us versus us. This is where there is less distractions, there is less other people, there is less entertainment available. There is more nature, yes, for sure. It's a great spot to be. And yet, this is where we find ourselves with that capacity to focus a lot on what matters to us as a person. And in this case, it really is a wonderful opportunity to break through. This is why people go to retreats, right? This is where people go abroad also, travel to far off places so that they can have some time in solitude on their terms, as desired, so that they can go through those processes, perhaps that previously were somehow eluding them. Maybe life was too busy. Maybe there were too many things to do. And yet, when we do find ourselves exploring what we could call solitude, a lot of goodness can be had. And I mean, so many breakthroughs. There is a difference, obviously, between loneliness and solitude, and this is one of the topics that we would like to talk about with Linda today. Loneliness, loneliness is flavored with a sprinkle of suffering. We suffer over our aloneness. We might be feeling that things aren't right. We might be feeling disconnected with other people, ourselves, and the world. And it has that, well, flavor. It has that flavor of abandonment. This is when we feel lonely, we feel apart, we feel separate. And yet, as most suffering is, loneliness is also a bit of a choice. Some people might not agree. However, as it is at the moment, in the world of 7 billion people, there is plenty of opportunities to connect. I mean, plenty is an understatement of a century. So many opportunities to connect with people online and offline. So it all boils down to a choice. Do we wish to connect with other people? Whom would we like to connect with and why? Because the opportunities are there. Even here in the middle of nowhere, there are opportunities to, meet people during weekends or otherwise. There is obviously also plenty of online opportunities also. It's just a matter of whether we want to and why would we want to do that. And let's say that 2020 has shown us that spending some time on our own can bring a lot of clarity. We have already seen a lot of social changes post 2020, 2021, when people started to rearrange their lives. They had some time to their own, so to speak. And I'm just really making it a big mental shortcut here because so many things happened over those 2 years back then. And yet, we have already seen that so many people have changed jobs, created new relationships, moved to another location, and so on and so forth, because they had that moment to actually think about what is important to them. And luckily for us, this is 21st century. One can hop on a plane or a train or in the car and find oneself miles away in a matter of hours. The same applies to relationships. Whether we want to, for example, expand our social circle, this for sure can be had. There is enough networking opportunities, circles, gatherings, groups, and so on and so forth, communities, offline and online. Therefore, it's really just a matter of making that choice. Whether we would want to have a certain social input, whether we would like to connect with other people, and why. And it's a bigger topic. We've seen it already, depending also on the age group of a person and their personal history. People might feel drawn to certain options, including spending some time in solitude. It's a matter of choice. Yes, it can be very clarifying. Yes, it can be very beneficial to detach from the bigger world, stop the hamster wheel from spinning, and to actually realize that there is an exit. Should one want to find an exit from life situations that seem to be a bit too much, there is always a way. Life will always find a way. Ask and you shall receive. Yes, it might involve that moment of solitude, a pause between chapters. Yes, but is it a bad thing? Perhaps it's actually needed to stop that previous energy for it to fizzle out, to have that clarity about what is serving us, what belongs to the old world, and what belongs to the new world that we want to create, of course. This is where we are, creators of our character and personal reality. We make the rules here. In our personal reality, we make the rules. We decide who stays in and who will drift away. It's all good, especially when we do so consciously, especially when we allow ourselves to be intuitive and open to opportunities that present themselves. And as life shows already, past year has been quite a year for so many people when we were trialing out various options, and now we are transitioning from what I've seen and what I've spoken, I've already maybe differently. I had an opportunity to speak to so many people already this year, and it seems that people are transitioning big time, whether it's location, whether it's work related, whether it's relationships, connections of some sort. We are transitioning big time, my friends, and it's a good thing. Change, as it is the only constant. And in a way, perhaps it's actually better to be at the steering wheel of that change, right? To precipitate it, to give it direction, so to speak, to make those choices ourselves rather than wait for those changes to be enforced upon us. As some people say, catch God on a whisper rather than a shout.
Yes.
So if we can, go on, Linda.
Yes, I love everything that you are sharing here because it really speaks strongly to me. Um, a lot of times this whole going into solitude, when we think about it as a choice, it's actually where we go to pause and reflect. And so you talked about, we can find out who we want to spend our time with, what we want to be doing with those individuals, and why we're doing it. And if we don't stop long enough to pause, and then we're not going to really know any of the answers to those questions. And so solitude is where you go to connect with yourself, answer those questions, and then have that choice to know what communities that we might want to join. If we want to make a shift in career, we can do that. We can redefine and reimagine and create our relationships that we want to have. But you can't do that if you are in such a state of going from thing to thing. If you don't disconnect, you can't connect. And so it's a nice reminder that pausing is important. It allows you to catch your breath, and it allows you to take things in and get that clarity that you've been wanting. Because if you're on that hamster wheel and you can't figure out where the exit is, you're going to be running and running and running. And then the opening, you're going to miss it. So when you go into solitude, you can find those moments or minutes or hours, depending on really what it is that in that moment you want to be doing. So sometimes these reflective moments can really be moments that you can find in your day. Other times, you might need to have a whole day of reflection and be by yourself, because if you're bombarded by everyone else's thoughts, distractions of what's going on around you, you can't really take it in the best of ways. And so that's not being lonely. Lonely is different. You could be with yourself and feel lonely, or you could be in a whole community and group of people or transition and feel completely lonely. I can relate to that myself. As I love being with people, but at the same time, having those moments where I can just calm myself, I guess, my energy, my breath, my everything that I'm doing, because I have a lot of responsibilities. We all do. We all have a lot of responsibilities. And, there's times where you need to give yourself some space. And that is, that's not being selfish. That is being self-reflective, self worth, all of these things that you're getting to be. You value your self-worth and who you are enough to give yourself that gift of space, that gift where you can disconnect, think about all those things and come back. And there's so much more to this conversation. So I'm going to pass it back to you, and then we'll see where we're going to go next. Does that sound good? Okay.
Thank you so much, Linda.
You're welcome.
Yeah, as an add-on perhaps to what you just said, right? It's a bit like this perhaps. Over time, we tend to collect other people's limiting beliefs. We tend to think that all things should be like this or they should be like that because of this or because of that. However, this might not be even our own thoughts. This might not even be our own beliefs. We have our own capacities. We are our own person. But if we are not careful, we might actually pick up those things. Obviously, that's a big, figure of speech here, but we can pick up those notions from other people or social media or otherwise, entertainment or otherwise still, and then incorporate it into our own personal reality as those things that go without saying, taking those things for granted, as if life couldn't be different. And this is personally why I'm a great believer in solitude, to that extent of, microdosing it perhaps, so that we can actually distinguish with discernment what is ours and what is not. What is my own train of thought? What are my own values? Is this or that, whatever in life it might be, is this actually aligned with the person that I am and the person that I would like to be? Or is it somebody else suggesting that I should be a certain way? And here, the key operative word is suggestion. With so many things in life, especially on social media and otherwise, we see a lot of suggestions, how we should be, how we could be. But that is it. That is it. This is just suggestions, my friend. This is all suggestion. We all have every right to be our own person. And that's important because this naturalness leads to personal magnetism and charisma. When we are fully in our own power, this is actually the experience that other people want. They don't want for us to be like celebs. They don't want for us to be like gurus. They want you, essentially, my friend. Whoever you are, wherever you are, those other people want to experience you. And that applies the same to Linda, myself, you, your family, your friends, and so on and so forth. This is our power. Our uniqueness is that superpower that other people are drawn to, and they don't want a copycat. So, as they famously say, you are born an original, so don't die a copy. The uniqueness is the strength here. This is what helps us to stand out. And yes, if one wants to be outstanding, then one needs to find the strength to stand out. That's how it works. This is what helps us to distinguish ourselves from those other people with their own psychology, with their own history, with their own upbringing, with their own systems and metrics and daily rhythm and everything else. And yet, especially these days, in the age of overabundance of information and social media presence, it's worth remembering, I feel, that deep down, people want to spend time with us, whether it's clients, friends, family, and so on and so forth. They don't want a persona. They want the real deal. They don't want a mask. They want what's underneath. And the moment we actually allow ourselves to take off that social mask and leave it behind, this is stepping into our own personal freedom. This is what makes the journey worthwhile. Those other things that the society tells us we could be, should be, must be, that's all good. That's all good. It's just a society in its current state. Imagine, it's the society in its current state telling us to be a certain way. And judging by the state of the society, I'm not sure what I would be taking that advice on, to be honest. We still are, we have room for improvement here. Okay, until we have that highly sophisticated, effective, loving, supportive, peaceful society taking advice from the current system is actually quite challenging, to say the least.
You're definitely
So,
right on that for sure. Go ahead.
go on, go on.
Oh, you just started talking about something that a lot of us forget about, really, and that is everything is a suggestion. And so we can take it or leave it. And really, the moment we can decide to take off that social mask and get into our own skin and get really comfortable about who we are, and we'll become in alignment. And when we're in alignment, then everything in life is so much easier. There's no forcing, and you feel good, and you're in the creation mode. You can go out there and you can set how you want to be, and shift and change those societal trends. And so to re-envision and to change that up, I mean, history repeats itself, but it doesn't have to. It could do something new that we haven't done before. I don't know. And really, we do live in a place in a space of overabundance, overindulgence, over all these things. And so it's no wonder why we, need to take the steering wheel into our hands, really, and choose differently, so that way we're not having to be anyone different than who we are, because we're trying to take in all these suggestions and implement them. Suggestions are not all meant to be implemented, but yet we try to do that in life and in business. We truly do. And because you think about it, there's all types of situations where we're going to have these brainstorm mapping sessions, let's say. And so they happen both, in the boardroom, and then organically just in our friend circles, really, and yeah, it just gives a lot of thought here about how we can choose to do a lot of things differently, and that we're not stuck in doing one thing or the other. We're not having to choose between having the solitude versus suffering and in isolation. They're just places that we flow in and out of. And when we choose not to suffer, and when we choose to reconnect with ourselves and do it intentionally, because there's so many things that can take us away. And so bringing that whole everything we do or choose not to do is a choice. And when you look at it that way, then things are not being done to you. You're choosing, and the outcomes will come however they land sometimes. And it's just really navigating that. And transitions. I mean, life is a transition. You are transitioning through the ages, the stages, the family structures, societies, structures, all of those things. And so when we just remember that we're here on this earth to live a human experience, and that all these things are normal, everyone's going through them, we're never alone, unless we choose to go into that place where we're not empowering ourselves. The moment we choose to empower ourselves and to fall into standing firmly and speaking with conviction, our beliefs. And so it's what we value, what we think we have a right to. You do those things, then the rest of this all becomes easy, my friend. It really does, but we work against it half of our lives, I would say. I've talked to so many people that they get to a mid place in life, and they're like, if I would have known this, I would have lived differently. But when they say that out loud, the first thing that is what they should like take in if they're like really listening to those words and that conversation. It took me a half my life. Well, you're not going to get anywhere in life until you experience these things. So you had to have experienced those things to have a frame of reference about what you value, what you want, and what you don't want. You can't do that by listening to mere suggestions of what you should be, could be, and in some cases, some people like to tell you who you are and how you should operate. And so we're here saying, no, you don't have to choose to do that. You can choose to do your own thing and stand out, be your own person, because you know what? At the end of the day, when you're wearing that mask and you come into contact and meet other individuals to connect with them, if you're wearing that social mask, what happens when you take it off? The reasons why the people met you and want to be in your space and presence might all of a sudden change. And then they'll be like, well, you're not the person I thought you were. We don't actually value the same things. Who are you? And so why not start the introductions and going in the places and spaces with who you are already? Then you don't have to try so hard to be a chameleon and be somebody else and feel like you're never connected and you don't align with the world. Standing out is good. It's not bad. It's only bad if we choose to put a category on it. And so that's what I'm getting out of our conversation, both on the things that you're sharing, Konrad, and then the things that my experiences, my perceptions, and our audience, you guys are, as you are listening, are taking in the different perspectives and suggestions, because we're suggesting just as much as everyone else. You can choose to take in what we're sharing and figure out if there's something that you would want to do differently in your life or not. The choice is really totally yours. We're just advocating that transitions in themselves are great, and they're even better when you can go into that space of solitude and really just self-reflect, because then you feel more connected. You really do, and you can feel the difference in your body. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but I can certainly tell when I am connected authentically to myself and every thing that I'm doing and the people I surround myself with, because I've taken the time to answer those questions. And when I'm busy going from thing to thing, there are days that I'm probably having to tell myself that I need to pause and breathe. No joke. No joke. That's one thing that I know, that the moment that I'm having to try to get that breath, that I'm going too fast, I'm not pausing, and I need to go back to my center of self, take some time aside, and just be.
Mhm. It's one of those things that, especially in today's society, we have so many opportunities to express ourselves. Yeah. And really, this is like unprecedented from a certain perspective, right? It is quite unprecedented how many things we could be doing daily and in how many ways. Yeah. And in a way, it's a beautiful notion that we have so much choice when it comes to work arrangements, social arrangements, right? Family arrangements, home arrangements, and so on and so forth. We are literally so abundant when it comes to those things that we would like to experience and create. Now, obviously, the question is whether we are already doing that on our own terms, whether we are doing it our own way. In a way, yes. When I speak to people, I tend to repeat that: take from what I say whatever you want, and do whatever you want with the rest. It's entirely up to you. I'm offering a perspective. I'm offering a statement that you can explore. It's something to consider one way or another, reject it or accept it, it's all good. For as long as you find yourself living that loving, prosperous, abundant, happy, healthy, empowered life, it's good. That notion of, this very naturalness of ourselves, our own beingness expressed fully, truly, transcendentally. It's it's one of those things, especially these days, right? In at the age of ever increasing speed of technological progress, software solutions, now also artificial intelligence. This is where our own nature and naturalness and uniqueness will be of even more value. And I mean, this is the part that is irreplaceable. A part, that irreplaceable part of society is you, my friend. Wherever you are, whoever you are, in, including Linda and myself, we are irreplaceable here. And it might be that we might want to create, completely new way of living. And it can be done in many, many ways. Remote work allows us to travel a lot more than ever before. Literally, this is where imagination is your limit. With these days, you can find a solution, technological, social, solution to create nearly, if not every lifestyle. You want to live in a dome underwater, you can do this. You want to live in the middle of nowhere, you can do this. You want to spend your life living on a cruise ship, you can do this. There are so many ways to live a fulfilling and abundant life. Yes, it might require some adjustments. Yes, for sure. Some things might have to end for new other things to begin. Yes. And yet, in this wonderful world of opportunities, we still make the rules in our personal reality. We can create anything we want. And it's just a matter of what it will be. When there is a will, there is a way, as they say. Ask and you shall receive. And that's a big one too. So many people don't even ask for what they want. Not only because they don't find time to reflect on it, so they don't even know when you ask them, they don't really know what they want in a given area of life, whether it's intellectual development, relationships, friendships, career development, health, wealth. People just don't know sometimes. And that's okay too. But this is where this ask and you shall receive doesn't come fully into play, because first we need to ask. And so many people don't even ask for what they want because they don't know it in the first place. They haven't decided yet. They think they did, but they didn't. Because if they truly did, they would be already on track to manifesting that. And if they are not, then they haven't truly decided just yet. The formula is very simple. Ask and you shall receive. Because already asking already is indicating that one is ready to receive. The question is the answer. When somebody asks a question, one is ready to receive the answer. And yes, there are two parts to that ask and you shall receive. First thing is asking clearly, specifically, to the world in writing or to another person, or to even ourselves. Having that clarity that makes the magic happen. And then switching into the graceful state of receivership. And I mean receivership, open-minded flexibility of how things can conspire in your favor in order to provide that outcome that you seek, or better. What life shows is that those things are usually delivered in a different way that our mind tends to think. Our minds think that something must happen a certain way, and this is where people tend to pigeonhole themselves, because they expect that things will happen a certain way and they can miss the boat. Maybe something much better is already being created for them. And yet they don't see it because they are focusing on that lesser outcome and a lesser way to get to where they really want to be. So this great graceful state of receivership is something else that most people suspect. And that's why they don't manifest what they want. That's why life can get a bit difficult at times. And this difficulty is a sure sign of misalignment. This is where we, with our minds, think that things should be a certain way. Maybe from a place of lack, very often actually. When we act and decide from a place of scarcity, lack, hardship, this is where luckily, we don't get what we want because we don't ask for enough. And had we gotten what we wanted, imagine getting like 5% of what you could actually have and be satisfied with it. Come on, we can do so much better than that. And so, especially these days, I am inviting you, my friends, to dream big, ask big questions. As I like to say, 10% of a lot is way better than 100% of very little. If you can get just 10% of your big dream fulfilled, created in your life, that's awesome. You're going to love it way more than getting a tiny wish fulfilled and just settling for that. Yes, maybe that doesn't have to be, either or. Getting those smaller wishes fulfilled can be very gratifying too. However, please make sure that you also dream big at the same time. That there is a grander vision, provision. The word provision actually is two words, pro, vision. It's a grander, more advanced vision that leads to the universe providing fulfillment for that vision. Because it's so grand, because it's so advanced, because it's so fulfilling, because it's so beneficial for you and other people, this is where the universe can be so giving. In a way, also because we give onto ourselves. In the end, very often we realize that as such, we give to ourselves through other people, through opportunities, through life experiences. We allow ourselves to receive something. We truly give onto ourselves when we are ready. When we are ready to receive something, whatever it might be, love, acceptance, prosperity, health, joy, peace, high quality relationships, whatever might be, my friends, that you would like to experience, you can have it. You really can have it. It's just a matter of whether and when and how you will actually allow yourself to receive that. This is the receiving part of it. So if you already asked in the past for something and it hasn't materialized just yet, I'm inviting you to revisit your ask to start with, whether it is really your ask or whether you're trying to meet some societal standards. Maybe you want to be like the neighbors, maybe like your parents, maybe like your peers, maybe like celebs, maybe like people on social media. Would it really be you if you got what you wanted? Is it really your best, highest expression? Or is it just copy pasting other people? Because what tends to happen the moment we really embrace our beingness, our naturalness, we become so magnetic And I mean, it's like magic. Suddenly the doors that were previously closed become open, and we find ourselves in the universe of abundance because it's our own magnet that is attracting those things. There is no filters of other people's limiting beliefs, of shoots and masts and ought tos. And once we clear those shoots and masts and ought tos, where this is really when we can take our life to next level. And then level after that and the level after that. It's one of the easiest ways to create a thoroughly fulfilling lifestyle. When we don't try to be like other people, and instead, we do actually perhaps what we are even here to do, to create something very unique for ourselves and for other people. Have you ever thought about it, my friends, that perhaps one of the things that we do here in that multiplayer societal game is creating experiences for ourselves and other people. So when we can create something unique, other people might want to experience that. They might be less interested in another copycat of somebody else. Thank you very much. Already had enough of this. But you, my friend, you can be so special. You can stand out so much that other people are drawn to that uniqueness because only you can provide that something. You become that niche of one. And that is irresistible. That combination of your personality, natural charm, your skill set, charisma, and everything else you can provide. Everything that you are becomes so magnetic that other people want it, should you choose to experience that. But one of those things is that the moment we go au natural, really, no masks, they have their place, but we can do without them. This is where we can truly step into our power. This is truly when we not only do we understand ourselves better, but also we become so magnetic that entire life becomes one big flow. Daily, all-embracing flow. There's no even need to get out of the flow state because we then tend to spend entire days and months in a state of ongoing, cheerful, delightful flow. This is where alignment meets our function, let's say. I use the word function in that concept also of social contribution, of what we are here to do, whom we are as a person, as a being, that spiritual being incarnated in flesh, in carne, in Spanish, meaning flesh, in that enfleshment of ours. And if we are here to experience something magnificent, then why wait? Why wait? Especially now, when so many things are possible, when only our imagination limits that which we can experience. I am inviting you, my friends, to think big, ask big, and switch into receivership. Make the impossible possible and never look back. So what do you think, Linda?
Oh, I'm
What?
tracking
Go on.
all of those things that you're sharing. I'm in complete alignment. And honestly, all of the things that we've talked about today in our discussion about all of those questions that we can ask ourselves to to sum it up really is we all have this assignment that's waiting for us. And when you said, why wait? that was exactly what was on my mind is we don't need to wait for a new year, a new start or anything. You can pick any day you want. And so the two questions for this assignment that I'm inviting all of us and our listeners to do is to answer these two questions. Is what will you choose to reimagine as your reality? Because remember, we spoke to, we are all the creators of our reality if we choose to be. And then the second most important part is, will you start or will you begin or will you continue asking so that you can receive? That is what brings it all together, is being in that place where you can receive, knowing that you have every right to do that. Because a lot of times we can be on that giving end, but we're inviting and asking you to be on the receiving end, because that is what brings us into alignment. You can't have giving without receiving, receiving without giving. The two come together, and that is what really brings us into alignment, is all the things that we talked about, really is taking off that mask and being who you are, being open and receptive to receiving, asking for what you would like to have. And again, just imagining what can be out there for you. You can have that now. You don't have to wait for a special moment or time or place or for something to close out before you can have. Because a lot of times when we transition, we think we have to close one chapter before we can begin writing our next one. And I'm going to advocate that that's not always true, that you have to close something out to start something else. And because life is not this or that, it's an and in many cases. And so it's a different way of thinking, a different way of being. And so really, I invite everyone to think about all of the things that we spoke to today and go out there, stand out, and create that reality that's waiting for you.
I would also perhaps add that when it comes to this creatorship, right, it's worth remembering that in a way, one of the ways to get there, and probably one of the quickest ways to get there, is to act as if it's already there. This is the receivership that we are talking about here. It's not waiting that at some point we will get to where we want to be as we sit in our chair waiting. No, no, no. This is not how it works. Yeah. That receivership, that graceful receivership, is that knowing that it has already happened. Of course, it's already happened. Of course, that's why I'm taking this action, followed by that action, because the outcome is already in my personal reality. I'm just literally moving my body like a piece on, on a board game, so that I can get to the end of that game, so to speak, right? To level up, should that be the case. Maybe another round, right? Level up again, level up again, level up again, level up again, right? Whether it's in terms of finances, health, right? Social connections, joy, peace, whatever it might be. Whatever area that we want to expand in our, personal, professional life, we can do that. We really can. And this as if behavior, let's say, acting as if it's already there, is one of the best ways to get there, with a caveat that it's still worthwhile to be open-minded. If there is an opportunity, if there is an opening creating itself in our life that seems like a better fit than the original plan, it's always worth to consider taking that pivot towards that which tends to present itself so willingly. Yeah. So in a way, with this asking, we might want to be more focused about the direction that we would like to take. And then by taking as if steps, we get towards that direction. Yes, Some people work excellent with very specific goals, singular goals that they wish to experience. And yes, that can be had. And that's exactly why we should be taking those steps as if it already happened, because we are so focused, for example, on a singular goal in any area of life it might be. And we can have several of them. Just like Linda was saying, it doesn't have to be an either or paradigm, but instead it can be and both. So we can have several goals, let's say, in various areas of life that we are working on at the same time. And at the same time, there are also people who work better with directions rather than singular goals. They just want to experience expansion in a given area of life that might be quite specific expansion, but it's not exactly down to a digit, a number, a very specific experience, but instead it's more about a feeling, how that person will feel when they get there. And that's okay too. It's just worth knowing which type of a person you are, my friend. And whatever it is, it's good. The key here is really in make those steps lightly, with awareness, intuitively. Yes, of course, being on the lookout for those opportunities when they present themselves, because they will. And it would be, well, we would make our work more difficult should we try to just follow that, plan from 5 years ago, perhaps, where, the reality was completely different. Options when it comes to technology or software were completely different. And yet we were still, using some obsolete applications, obsolete solutions, because we must stick to our original plan. Some people are still like that. Yeah, and it's okay too, obviously. However, in this, ever evolving state of the society at the moment, we can really create amazing results very quickly, no matter the area of life, whether it's relationships, private, professional, whether it's work, finances, health. There are so many options. And yes, we might not have to know exactly what the sub-ultimate step will be, but it nearly doesn't matter, because life will find a way. It always does. So, yes, solitude can help. Spending some time, right, with ourselves can be of great and immense help to sift away those things that are not of us, those thoughts and patterns, beliefs and habits that might not be serving us on our quest, that we might have borrowed from other people willingly or unwillingly, knowingly and unknowingly. Because what is left is us, and that's already enough. We are all complete individuals. We are all resourceful, all loving, all powerful. That is the secret sauce. It's us. In a way, there is no secret sauce because we are all creation in the first place. And yet, from another perspective, we are that secret sauce. We are what makes the magic happen. And there is no need for too much enhancement, because every person can be successful in their own way. It's a matter of what it is that we would like to create. Yes, some things might require a certain inner and outer adjustment, for sure. It's called progress. It's called evolution, advancement, whatever you might want to call it. Yes. But with that mm, knowingness, inner knowingness that all is well, that we are good enough, we are worthy enough, we deserve the best in life, we can achieve a lot. And it's not even about achievement, by the way. It's more about the beingness. It's about waking up in the morning feeling satisfied, loved, expansive, rich in experience and prosperity, having good health, radiant, satisfactory. It's all there. We can all have it. At this day and age, we can all have it. It's a matter of thinking, of being, of feeling like a person who has all that, or at least some of it. Knowing that, we can reverse engineer what it is that we need to do, how we need to be in order to be a person who has something or experiences something or is a certain way. What does that person do? My friends, if you want to have, do, or be someone, if you want to have something, be doing something in life, or be a kind of a person that is very specific for whatever reason, what does that person do? What does it mean to be doing something? And who is the owner of that which you wish to own? What does it take to own it, so to speak? This is where we create that frequency match. We become the person who is a certain way, does things a certain way, and has something specific. And it can be had. These days, there is enough help, one way or another, in order to create anything and everything. We are talking here about, teenagers making more money than their parents combined. We are talking here about people recovering from advanced, health issues because they know they can. We are talking here about people overcoming incredible difficulties in life to create something utterly fulfilling and joyful in the end. It can all be had. You name it, you can have it. It's just a matter of how it is that you would need to adjust, so to speak, in order to be that person who has what you want. And in this case also, which is great, one can have so much help, offline and online. There are so many opportunities to surround yourself with other people who perhaps already have it. Surround yourself with people who have the result you are after, because their way of thinking, feeling, acting will rub off. You will by proxy become a person who has that which those people already have, because it's going to be so natural for those people, and you will pick up on this. That's the beauty of masterminds, networking circles, and otherwise. When we surround ourselves with other people who are already where we would like to be, we will become the next person in the room who has it, whatever it might be. Whether it's grander awareness, emotional intelligence, social status, financial wealth, radiant health, or maybe inner peace, or maybe just radiant joy. We can have it all. We were born to have it all. It's just a matter of order of things. What it is that you would like to start with. What's the next step? Or maybe you already have it all and you want to play a higher game. That's okay too. Why not? This is the paradise of creation. This is where we can physicalize anything we want. Imagine. If we can think of it, sooner or later we can make it happen. Because this is personal reality we are talking about, meaning personality. We create our own world. This pen is my mind. I wished to experience a blue pen, therefore it physicalized. This is my mind in physical reality. How cool is that? And there are other aspects of my physical reality that I also manifested. It's the food it's the food that I eat. It's the state of my health. It's what surrounds me here in this office, and so on and so forth. This is all my mind. All you see behind me, that plant is my mind also, because I wish to experience it. Therefore, it's there. And so, this is I am creatorship. This is realizing that our physical reality is just the most dense part of our own mind. And by what you, my friends, experience in your physical reality, you can see what's actually within your mind. Because as within, so out with. And it can be a great tool of personal development and spiritual development too. What you experience in external world is actually what's on the inside, or at least a part of it, a fraction of what's on the inside. Therefore, if you wish to experience peace, joy, love, prosperity, health, high quality relationships, amazing surroundings, amazing neighborhoods, traveling around the world, you can have it all. It might be just a case of looking within and upgrading the beliefs that are at the moment creating your current reality. The way you think, the way you act, that is creating your current outcomes. But you can shift yourself in frequency so that you become the person who has that which you want. And again, here, become is two words. Be a certain way, and it will come. It's a matter of being and acting as if we have that which we want, which makes it come to us. And then we have that verb become. Another aspect of it is also to be the cause in our own life, to be the creator. Be cause. Be a cause in your own life. Don't wait for the world to give onto you. Don't wait for other people to create that which you want, because you might be waiting for a long time, my friends. The best way to predict a future is to create it. Taking matter into our own hands, and that's already a big mental shortcut here, taking things into our own hand and actually proactively creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because this is the by far the best way to definitely experience that which you want to experience. When we become so certain that it's going to happen, that we are taking daily steps in order to make it so, and we make the outcome, well, beyond certain. It really becomes obvious daily. It becomes a given, something that you think must happen, to a point that it goes without saying that you are about to experience it sooner or later until it is here in your personal reality. You literally weaved your mind into a physical reality. This is how inevitable I'm inviting you, my friends, to be. Inevitable, knowing so well that you can have whatever you want. Peaceful neighborhoods, fine. Amazing lifestyle, fine. Fulfilling career, fine. Grand um, lifetime, even. Of course, why not? You can have it all. It's just a matter of scope of your thinking and dreaming for that matter. Hence, also, as we mentioned it earlier on, I'm inviting you to dream a really big dream, especially these days, my friend. It's so needed. imagine that we can have next level society sooner than we think, in the best of ways. And it's entirely up to us. And this is one of those things that yes, it might involve some letting go of what was to cut out the ballast. We can leave the past be. What happened happened. We were those people back then. Now we are not. And this is a point of power. This is where we actually proactively live in that power of now that Eckhart Tolle is talking about. This is where every day becomes a blank slate. What it is that I would like to experience today, what it is that you would like to experience today. And you can have it all, my friends. Just as much as Linda can have it all, just as much as I can have it all, you, my friends, can also have it all. It's just a matter of even thinking in those terms. Because once we do, we very quickly realize that, oh yes, we can have it all, and why not? Over to you, Linda.
So I agree with all of those things that you're saying. And in my mind, once we know who we are and we surround ourselves with people in that tribe, then there's nothing out there that's going to prevent us from really stepping up and thriving, because we're in alignment when we know who we are and who we're with. And like you had said earlier, we can envision ourselves in that new reality already. We don't have to wait until we 100% become that reality. We are that reality, and all we're doing is maybe changing the steps as we're progressing through, right? We're changing the steps as we're becoming, we're being, and we are. And the moment we know that we are, then all of the other things fall right into place. And that's how you know you're in alignment versus the other. You can feel the difference. And you made a very good case for have, do, and be, because it takes all three of those. And so really the conversation here, I think that we could speak to even more depth in a lot of these areas. And so we already know that this is the first of many conversations that we're going to have around these subjects. And I'm just really excited to have you in our community, to bring your expertise, to share your lived experience from your perspective. And we're setting and modeling the way for others in the men's room community to do the same. And so I'm really excited that we're getting to create this. And what's more, what's coming, the path is certain. There's more coming, and that this community is going to expand into much more as we go through and explore. And so I'm really super excited, and we're not waiting for another year to go by. We're going to be in creation mode now. And so I'm glad that you're a part of this. And yes, and an invitation to our listeners, if you want to come in and share your experience, your expertise, your way that you view the world, then we want to hear about it, because we're all about many perspectives, many lived experiences, and there isn't just one way of having this interview. Even all of our interviews are interactive, different, and so we have a lot of flavor. We have a lot of items on our menu, and so we welcome you in to join the cafe. And we'll see you next time on the men's room. And Konrad, thank you again for coming in and having this candid conversation.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm really look forward to connecting with you. And Think about it this way, my friends, as a closing remark here. We really can pre-send what's going to happen next. Whatever it is that you wish to experience, my friends, we can have it. Collectively and individually, we are creating every nanosecond of this experience. And here there are no limits. We can create whatever we want. So whenever you are dissatisfied with what is currently a part of your lived experience, you can upgrade it. In a way, this is exactly what we are here to do. And as a guide hypnotherapist and otherwise, we can agree with Linda perhaps that it's this taking the steering wheel into our own hands that makes all the difference. This is where we finally are in the driver's seat, and we can actually start enjoying the journey on a whole new level. The impossible becomes possible, and we only take it from there. Thank you so much, my friends.
Thank you.